Hey and welcome back to a new video. A couple of weeks ago, Matthias reached out to me over email with this picture asking for help because his entire apartment was on fire and so was the PC that was inside. And you can imagine if the fire brigade shows up and tries to extinguish all the flames, yeah, that comes with a lot of negative side effects with water and everything onto the components, especially also the apartment, obviously. And he was mainly reaching out for like data rescue, which he eventually managed to pull the data from his components, from his drives. But the rest of the components, they looked pretty wild. And then I asked him to just send everything to me and we will try to see if there's anything we can do to rescue some of his components. And yeah, the parcel showed up and I'm really curious what we will find. You're looking for a serious GPU power at an unbeatable price? Check out Hetzner's dedicated GPU servers. The GEX44 features an NVIDIA RTX 4000 SFF ADA GPU with 20GB of ECC GDDR6 VRAM, perfect for running pre-trained AI models. You need even more performance, then you should take a look at a GEX130 equipped with NVIDIA's RTX 6000 ADA GPU offering 48GB of VRAM. And this one is ideal for training complex AI models. And the best part, that GEX130 comes with no setup fee, and both servers are built by the hour. Both options are dedicated servers, meaning you're not sharing any resources. Find out more information about Hetzner's GPU servers in the description below. So there's the box, and it was already quite dirty from the outside. I mean, that's kind of expected when things were on fire. So I think I will just put on some gloves and then open up the box to find out what is waiting for us. Already looking just at the cardboard box. I think this is going to be a big mess. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you can be happy that there is no smell feature on YouTube because this is interesting. It doesn't smell healthy. And yeah, I don't think this PC is feeling well. Oh my god. There's also a bunch of accessories. I think in this box we will probably find the VGA. I think this video is going to be a challenge. I think so, like the general plan for this video will be to try to look at the main components like this, I think 2080. Try to maybe open this, clean, rescue maybe the main components such as the VGA, motherboard, CPU. I'm not sure about the motherboard, but like all those accessories, fans, cables. I mean, look at the hard tube. Like there's no point in trying to save any of this. So I think we will try to focus on the main components and the rest I will quickly just, yeah, throw away because the smell also indicates for me that this is nothing healthy. That's something you should stay away from. So for now, I will just try to get the motherboard out and the rest I will just throw away. I mean, just look at fans and cables and everything. It was damaged so badly that just doesn't make any kind of sense. I'm not even sure about the motherboard part. Obviously, I want to just clean things and try to see if we can at least get some components back up and running. Maybe the CPU. I mean, CPU is probably the most likely because motherboard. Just looking at all those, look at the corrosion, probably from all the water that was being used by the fire brigade, and yeah, that's not great. Look at inductors and everything, discoloration. I honestly don't have much hope for this. When I just saw the pictures from Matthias the first time, I wasn't sure if there is a chance to save like the motherboard, but now seeing the corrosion on like most of these SMD components and all that, I don't have much hope, but for now I'm going to remove the CPU block because I think the biggest hope is for the CPU. The best thing on this build might still be the thermal paste. This looks still good. Might actually be Cryonaut. We have an i9-10900K that looks kind of alright. Obviously we have a lot of corrosion and rust and everything on the socket itself, but the CPU might still be good. The top side of the CPU looks kind of alright. Back side, mixed. We can definitely see that some fluid ran over the back and left its mark on the bottom of the pins, but that might be possible to clean that. I'm also a bit concerned about this standoff and that I might be scratching the motherboard right now because the back plate is partially broken and I can't get this off. I just realized that even if I'm able to get this off, I mean, look at the caps behind the socket. It all doesn't look good, and I was just thinking that even if I'm able to clean this, I can't even really plug something in. Like half of the connectors are burned, and like cleaning this will be almost impossible. So I mean, it's also not the most recent motherboard. I think I will just give up on this part. I still have a lot more hope for the CPU. What I just noticed is by looking at the edge of the heat spreader, it looks almost like a re-glued CPU. I think this might actually be a deleted CPU. Even though you can still see some discoloration, I think this should be all right. Like, just from electrical standpoint, should be okay to at least throw the CPU in the socket and see if it still works. I used some thermal paste to polish this. That is usually a good thing if you want to be gentle without going the step to like grind on the pins. So let's just try this. Luckily, I still have a socket 1200. So first, even without mounting a cooler, just to see if anything happens. It's getting hot. Trying again with a cooler. This honestly looks promising just by the postcode. So I think if we mount a VGA, that should actually work. Yeah, it's working. So at least his CPU is definitely still alive. As we can see, 10900K. That's at least something. The CPU was the part where I had the most hope because it's kind of protected in the socket underneath the CPU cooler and it's still alive. So even if I'm not using most of the components for his new system, then he can still sell this and get like maybe 100 or 200 euros. So that's at least something. For the GPU, I'm currently not quite sure if I just want to throw this exactly the way it is into an ultrasonic cleaner and see if I can get rid of some of the dirt before opening this. Not sure. I think we will exactly try this with this ultrasonic cleaner that is using IPA. It's also a special one that is made for IPA, has like a plastic insert. Just left it 5 minutes inside, but it's not as good as I maybe expected. I expected the ultrasonic cleaner to do a bit more. It's like basically nothing happened. I wanted to take it apart anyway. I mean, there's no way around it, but I thought it maybe helps to remove some of the initial dust and get rid of the smell a little bit, but it didn't really work out. I also hope that I can get out all the screws without breaking any of them. There's a lot of rust on all of the screws and threads, so it might be possible that something gets stuck. Well, that's not good. That looks, especially this area and the one in the center behind the GPU. Wow, that looks pretty concerning. Again, here also, like paste and pad, not looking too bad. And the entire area that was covered by the heatsink looks all right. Unlike the backside of the PCB. But whatever they used for extinguishing the fire definitely corroded everything. You can see it's like probably nickel coating on the aluminum and also on here. It's even removing the nickel layer. on the heatsink. So, wow, yeah. I think we're trying a different way now. There's still some stuff on there, but I already removed quite a bit. I spent over an hour cleaning the PCB as well as I can, so multiple steps of just with the brush and then just going back to the ultrasonic cleaner with IPA and brushing again, and yeah, just trying to remove as much dirt as possible. The most concerning part for me are the connectors, because I can't really reach in there and I'm not quite sure if the cable will make any contact at all. And at this point I just want to check if this is still alive, if I want to spend more time on it. The cooler is very difficult to clean, if I will ever be able to clean it. I already checked if I can find a replacement cooler. I found one on eBay for 170 euros, which doesn't make a lot of sense for a 2080 Super. Couldn't find any replacement water block, but I think for the moment I will just try to see if this can boot or not. Resistance from 12 volt to ground I think is a bit low, but at least it's not a short. Memory resistance looks okay. I think most of the time it's like maybe 15 ohms or something, but that's probably in an okay range. And the GPU resistance is 150 milliohms, so just judging by the resistances, I don't see why the GPU wouldn't work. We will just give it a try. I set up the card over a riser cable attached to the system, added power, and I will add the LN2 container to the GPU, and we will just see if we get a display signal or not. And I attached it to HDMI right now. At least so far, nothing on fire, nothing exploded. So in theory we should have display signal, but we don't, and it's also VGA detection. I'm just checking for GPU voltage, and as you can see, there's nothing. Where I would expect maybe like 0.8 or like 1 volt, not reading anything, and without GPU voltage, I mean, yeah, nothing will happen. And that's something we just can't easily fix. Too bad. I really thought at some point that we will be able to rescue the card. Not sure with which cooler or whatever, but I was expecting to at least save like the PCB with the GPU and everything. But with no voltage being present, yeah, there could be so many reasons for that, like some component missing or like damaged parts on the, I don't know, VRM controller, GPU, whatever. There's like so many reasons why this would be the case, even though the resistances looked okay, but voltage supply not being there, it's not great. So it doesn't really make much sense to spend more time on the card, unfortunately. So it seems like the only components that's arrived are the CPU and also the SSDs that he already took out from the system and rescued the data. So that's at least that, and I think data is obviously the most important out of everything. Everything else can be replaced, and that's probably what we will do now. It's been about a week, but I couldn't let go of this topic. I was thinking about, measuring the GPU resistance and the memory resistance all looked fine. Then I kept cleaning the card for a couple more hours, and you can see it looks a lot better now. Especially focusing on the entire voltage supply areas that, I first wanted to clean it and then inspect it under the microscope, which I did. So I checked all the areas to see if I ripped off an SMD, for example, if anything was damaged, and I couldn't find anything. Like just physically, the card looks actually all right. And I was thinking now that the card is just much more clean with all the residue gone from most of the SMDs, it might be worth to give it another try. And I also want to try it this time without the riser cable, just to be sure that everything works out without introducing other points of error. As you can see, I already removed the I/O shield. I had to do that to inspect the card under the microscope. And I was planning to just sandblast the original heatsink and try to use it again. I'm not sure how much more damage this will do to the heatsink. I think there is nothing to lose at this point, and it might actually work to clean it. And that's also what I will do with the I/O shield. I removed the fans and you can see the crazy corrosion on all of the fins. Still have to remove the thermal paste, the pads, and then I will just throw it in the sandblasting chamber. The result is not even that bad. Like the I/O shield looks pretty much perfect, and even the heatsink with this now matte silver finish looks pretty cool. I tried to avoid the contact surface for the GPU a little bit, so it keeps the smooth surface. But apart from that, I bent some of the fins on the side, but I don't think it's making a big difference. Not bad. I will now mount the card back to the cooler. For this time without thermal pads should be fine, just for a quick test if it's alive or eventually fully dead. Time to test it. I obviously want to check voltage, but I mean, if we just power on and we get display signal, might not even be needed. So now just quickly checking, memory voltage is definitely present. And so is the GPU voltage now with about 800 millivolt. That should be on point. I think we'll just try the different PCI Express slot and also DisplayPort. So there's still a couple of options we can try. Now that is awesome. I'm not sure yet if it's DisplayPort or if the PCIe is causing this, because the bottom slot is using less lanes. But the card is working. And now after a bit more trial and error, just plugging the card around, seems to be working. First slots are probably full PCIe lanes. I think it's time to go to Windows. The card is indeed still alive, and I also put a light load on it using GPU-Z and the render test, and here you can also see what probably was the issue before. You can see the card is only running with 8 lanes x3. So the thing is, with 8 lanes, it's only half the bandwidth, so might be some PCIe issue on the card, but even with 8 lanes, it would still be no problem to use it. Means I will spend some time to assemble the rest of the card. Put some pads and everything back on it, probably the backplate. Applied new paste and also new pads. Pads are 2mm on this card. Now I will have to put everything back together. I want to also clean the fans. The fans should still work. That's something I still have to find out. And I probably will also have to sandblast the backplate. It's not fun cleaning the blades, but it's definitely necessary, as you can see. I spent over another hour for just cleaning everything. Meanwhile, also sandblasted the back plate of the card. Obviously, the coating or painting that was on there is now gone. So unfortunately, no more Asus logo and stuff. But still, also removed all of the dirt. So I think that's cool. What was really painful was cleaning the plastic shroud because I couldn't just sandblast this one. So I had to scrub like a long time, but now finally most of the dirt is gone. It doesn't smell anymore, which is already a huge profit. I can tell you all this smell all the time for this video was not that nice. Also mounted the fans back on there, and before I mount the backplate and the shroud on the card, I want to just quickly test this, see if the fans are working or not, and then hopefully we can just assemble everything again, and it's almost, it's a slightly used card now. The card is semi-passive, so it's kind of normal that, or expected that nothing is happening until we put some kind of load on it. For a brief moment I thought, okay, they're broken, but it just took much longer than I expected. Great, fans are spinning as well. If I consider how this card showed up a couple of weeks ago, and especially how it smelled, I'm quite happy with the outcome. Obviously there's still some spots here and there, and like screws are like a bit rusty and all that, but apart from that, I think this is like a perfectly usable GPU. I will still test the card for stability for at least 1 hour, in this case times by extreme, and so far, no problem. The main component which we were able to save in the end is the GPU, aside from the CPU, which I don't really want to use because I only have one 1200 motherboard left, which I still need for like future testing, and that's why I will just give him an upgrade to AM5 with this X870E motherboard and a Ryzen 7 7700X that I don't need anymore at this point. And I think this should be a good combination for the 2080 Super. Should still give it headroom if he ever wants to upgrade the GPU. I think the CPU should be fast enough for that. Then I also talked with Corsair Germany about this entire thing, and they were like, yeah, sure, we can just equip you with everything else you need for building him a new system. So Corsair, thanks a lot for the support. So we got like a bunch of memory, fans, SSD, PSU, case and everything, so we can now build him a fresh system. The motherboard is an Aorus Master, which might be overkill, but it also means that he will have any kind of headroom he needs for upgrading later on to a stronger CPU if he ever needs it, or like a GPU. And we are pairing this with this 32GB 6400 MHz first Vengeance kit with Expo profile. I think also color theme wise, this is like a perfect match for the Aorus Master motherboard. And we are now enhancing this with Light enhancement kit. The light enhancement kit it looks like another dual channel kit, but it's just dummy sticks with more RGB, so it looks like you fully occupied your motherboard. One thing I just noticed is that the Corsair logo on top of those DIMMs, for whatever reason, is like different when it comes to the color. Not sure if this is intended or The SSD is an MP700 Elite without heatsink, which is perfect because it will be put into the top slot, because it's also a Gen 5 drive with 1 TB of capacity. And all of this will be put into this Corsair Frame 4000 case. I'm making good progress, just swapped the fans in front, also added one in the back, added the AIO and the mainboard. Next step for me is adding the PSU, which is an RM850X shift. That means that it has the connectors on the side. Almost done with the wiring. I still have to organize it a bit more so it looks more tidy, but I still have to add the GPU and then check everything, and after that I will try to make it look more beautiful. I also still think that this is pretty cool that we were able to save the GPU and just reuse it for his new system. And that's the final result. And at this point I will just connect everything, see if everything works. Even the LED still works on the GPU. Obviously still have to configure everything, like update BIOS and install Windows, set everything up in iQOO, but so far I'm happy with the outcome. The setup is now ready to go. I configured everything in iQOO to be semi-passive, so it's nice and quiet, and also did additional stability tests to just make sure that the GPU is working, and indeed, like, no issues, and especially like in between seeing the state of the GPU, that was kind of surprising to me. Also when, when we had the issues of no GPU voltage, I kind of thought that there is no hope, but just shows once again that it's absolutely worth it to just keep trying until things work out. And I think the result is nice. At least we could save some of the components. In between, I also thought about adding the CPU somewhere in here to just give it an extra touch, but honestly didn't find a nice solution. And I think just sending the 10900K back to him might be the best, so he can maybe sell it and get some extra money back in return. But overall, I'm pretty happy how it turned out. Happy that we were able to save the GPU, and especially after first moments, I didn't think this was possible. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Bye bye.